Dragon Masters. Future of the Time Dragon. By Tracy West. Chapter 1. A Rescue Mission. Eat up, worm, Drake said. We need to be strong for our next mission. Drake handed another apple to his big brown earth dragon. Worm gobbled it down. Drake and Worm were in the dragon caves in King Roland's castle. Drake had gotten a good night's sleep. His belly was full of eggs and potatoes. He had eaten breakfast earlier with the other dragon masters Rory, Bo, Anna, and Petra. We almost never got to rest when we were trying to stop Maldred. Drake told Worm. We traveled all over the world. And we barely ate or slept. But we're ready for our next adventure. Drake and the Dragon Masters had stopped Maldred, the evil wizard, from destroying the world with an earthquake dragon called the Naga. But Drake's kingdom, Bracken, had been damaged by an earthquake. So Drake and Worm had traveled to find the spring dragon. She had brought the land back to life. But one more person still needed their help. Drake, it's time to leave. We have to find Eco, Rory said, running into the caves. Are you ready yet? Eco was a dragon master, too. The last time they saw her, Maldred made her disappear. Last night, Eco's thunder dragon, Neru, had asked the dragon masters to find her. Drake and Rory had volunteered for the mission. Almost, Drake replied. He walked over to Neru and gave him an apple. The purple dragon gulped it down. That should do it. Ready, Worm? The bright green dragon stone Drake wore around his neck glowed. It meant he was connecting with his dragon. Every dragon master wore a piece of the dragon stone. He heard Worm's voice inside his head. Ready. Finally, Rory said. She let her fire dragon, Vulcan, out of his cave. Let's go. Chapter 2. The Wizard's Hideout. Drake, Worm, Rory, Vulcan, and Neru all made their way over to the training room. Griffith the wizard was waiting for them there. So were Anna, Bo, and Petra. Eco went missing from inside Maldred's hideout, so we should begin our search there, Griffith said. Drake, can Worm get us there? I can do it, Worm told Drake. The hideout is located in a magical space, but I can connect to the energy you left behind when you were there. Drake nodded to Griffith. He can. You three must watch over the castle while we are gone, Griffith told Anna, Bo, and Petra. We will, said Bo. Good luck, Petra added. Anna ran over and hugged Rory. Drake touched Worm. Rory touched Vulcan and Worm. Griffith touched Neru and Vulcan. Now that they were all connected to Worm, they could transport. To Maldred's hideout! Drake cried. Green light exploded. Drake's stomach flip-flopped. When the light faded, Drake blinked. They were in a room filled with potions and books, Maldred's workshop. We made it! Drake cried, patting Worm. Eco, are you here? Rory called out. Her voice echoed through the tall, round tower. A spiral staircase led from the bottom floor all the way to the top. We should search one floor at a time, Griffith said. Drake shivered. Even though Maldred's not here, this is still a spooky place. Rory nodded. I'm glad we trapped him in that bottle. And I'm really glad the bottle is hidden deep inside the earth, Drake added. I hope Maldred never gets out, Rory said. Suddenly, Drake had an eerie feeling that somebody was watching them. Yes, Drake agreed. Let's hope he stays trapped forever. Then Drake heard Worm's voice inside his head. Neru can sense Iko. He says she is at the top of the tower. Iko is upstairs. Drake cried. Chapter 3. The Weird Wall. They all hurried to the top of the tower. Drake gazed around. The light was dim, but he could see a design of painted faces on the curved wall. Drake remembered this strange wall from when he and Rory had first come to the hideout. Iko, where are you? Rory called out. Neru can't see Iko, but he feels her, Worm told Drake. Neru said he can feel Iko, Drake said. He can't see her, but he's sure she's here. Did Maldred make her invisible? Griffith, meanwhile, had moved closer to the wall. He stared at it. This is very interesting, he said. I know some of these faces. They are wizards. Drake gave the faces on the wall a closer look. There were men and women. Some of them wore pointy hats. Some of the men had long beards, like Griffith's. None of these faces look happy? Rory remarked. They all look scared or angry. Did Maldred paint this wall? Drake asked. I fear it is much worse, Griffith replied. He pointed to a face on the wall, a man with a long mustache. This is Berg of the Misty Mountains. He went missing 20 years ago. We always suspected that Maldred had something to do with it. Rory frowned, thinking. He went missing. And now his face is on Maldred's wall. Griffith nodded. Maldred must have used dark magic to trap these wizards inside the wall. Rory turned pale. If he trapped people inside this wall, then maybe. She ran around the circular hallway, looking at the wall. Drake followed her. She stopped quickly, and Drake skidded to a stop behind her. Rory pointed at the wall with a shaking hand. Staring at them from the wall was the face of a young woman. Her mouth was open in shock. It's Iko, Rory yelled. Chapter 4. Strong Magic. Drake stared at Iko's face on the wall. Goosebumps popped up on his arms. She is trapped in the wall, he realized, looking out at us. Griffith and the dragons crowded around. Poor Iko, Griffith said. She made a bad choice when she decided to help Maldred. But she did not deserve this. Maldred did this to her because she was trying to help us, Rory reminded him. Tears glistened in her eyes. Hurry, Griffith will use your magic. You've got to get her out of there. Griffith frowned. It's not that simple, he said. Iko and these wizards are not just trapped in the wall. I believe they are trapped in time as well. Berg does not look any older than he did when he first went missing. Can you cast a spell to free them? Rory asked. The wizard shook his head. Maldred used very powerful magic to do this. Drake thought about when they had been in trouble before. Many times, a dragon had solved the problem. Is there a dragon that could help us? The wizard stroked his beard. That is an excellent thought, Drake. There is a time dragon in the land of Casgor. He may be our only hope. Then let's go to Casgor. Rory cried. I will stay here and search Maldred's workshop for the spell he used to trap Iko and the others. If I can find it, maybe I can undo it. Griffith said. Neru wants to stay here, too, Worm told Drake. He wants to watch over Iko. Drake glanced at the thunder dragon. Neru was staring sadly at the wall. Neru is going to stay here, Drake told the others. Fine, said Rory. But can we please hurry and get to Casgor? Of course, Drake replied. But Cascor is a big place. How will we find the time dragon? Come with me. There should be maps in Maldred's library, Griffith said. They returned to Maldred's workshop at the base of the tower. Griffith quickly found a map of Cascor. The time dragon lives on top of this mountain, Griffith said, pointing. Drake leaned over to look at the map. Worm, can you get us there? He asked. Yes, Worm replied. We're ready, Drake told Rory. As he touched Worm with one hand, he felt an itch on his neck. He tried to scratch it, but the itch was already gone. Rory placed one hand on Worm and one hand on Vulcan. Worm, please transport us to the time dragon, Drake commanded. Chapter 5. The Dragon in the Mountains. They transported to Cascor in a flash of green light. Drake immediately started shivering. He looked around. They were surrounded by huge snowy mountaintops and a bright blue sky. In front of them stood a white house with a red-peaked roof. Behind it rose a tall tower made of stone as blue as the sky. The tower looked out over a forest of green trees and a shimmering blue lake. It's beautiful here, Drake said. And cold, Rory added. Now let's find that dragon. As she spoke, a blonde-haired boy stepped out of the house. He wore a black vest over his white shirt. His black pants were tucked into brown boots. And a green dragon stone glittered around his neck. What are you doing here? The boy asked them. We're dragon masters, just like you, Drake replied. We're here because we need your help. We need the time dragon to break a spell that trapped people in time, Rory added. The boy grinned. Looks like you're in the right place at the right time, he said. His dragon stone glowed and he closed his eyes. A few seconds later, he opened them. Maj, the time dragon, says he will see you, the boy said. And I am Lucas, his dragon master. Drake and Rory introduced themselves. Now I will take you to meet Maj, Lucas said. They followed Lucas to the stone tower. I have a question for you. Why did the man throw the clock out the window? He asked as they walked. That's a strange question, Rory said. Lucas smiled. He wanted to see time fly. Get it? It's a riddle. Rory groaned, but Drake smiled. Lucas seems friendly, he thought. Lucas opened the tower door and they stepped inside, followed by the two dragons. A very tall clock stood in the center of the room. It was not like any clock Drake had ever seen. It had 3 clock faces with many gears spinning behind them. The first face was a big circle with lines around it and 2 spinning hands. Above the first face, the second had numbers and 3 hands. The third, smallest face was above the second face. It had just 1 hand that was shaped like an arrow. Strange symbols were painted around the face. Perched above the clock was a dark blue dragon with red spikes. He had leathery wings, fur legs, and a snout curved like a bird's beak. Maj, this is Drake and Rory. They are dragon masters, Lucas said. The time dragon's body glowed with blue light. Then streams of light flowed from his eyes and zapped Drake and Rory. Drake's whole body felt tingly. What's happening? He cried. Chapter 6. Any time, any place. The bright blue light kept streaming from the time dragon.